Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another Sunday night AA meeting. My name is Adam. I'll be your host this evening, and just like all of you, I am addicted to aquariums. And tonight we've got a familiar face to many of you that's joining us to showcase his tanks and have a bit of a talk about his Acropora success and his success with a particularly difficult fish for the hobby, and that is the Copperband Butterflyfish. And not only that, something which I have a good laugh at with our guest tonight, and that is that how personality can dictate the kind of reef keeper that you are, and I guess the outcome with your coral and your fish. But before we invite him to the stage, let's say good day to the other aquarium addicts that have joined us tonight. I'll say a good old hello to the Gold Coast fish keeper, Aiden, I think. That might be right. We've got Pratty87 in the house. We've also got Gil from Gil's Fish Room. How you going, buddy? We've got Rumi1986 and Quaid. How you going, buddy? Ginger Ninja South Africa. John. Good evening, John, out there in the west of Australia. And Ross Dingle. G'day, Ross. How are you, mate? And Jason Quitler. Hey, Adam. How are you, mate? And, oh, my lordy. Just getting some preparations ready for tonight.
I'm not sure your usual glasses.
That's okay. And Ned Jones, my son. How you going? All right. Welcome, everybody, to our Aquariums Anonymous Sunday night. We're all addicts. And so is our guest tonight. So let's bring him onto the stage and he can introduce himself. G'day, mate. How are you?
G'day there, everybody. I'm the Bearded Reefer, and I'm addicted to all sorts of things. But we won't talk about them. We'll just talk about aquariums. And, yeah, addicted to salt water severely.
Yes.
But I'm addicted to aquariums.
Lovely. Yep, that's perfect, mate. So for all of you out there, I'm trying to make I've had a bit of a poke with the Bearded Reefer here because I'm trying to get a bit of a pattern, a bit of a way to start our AA meetings on a Sunday night. So you might notice we're going through an introduction phase. So hello, mate. It's good to see you again. I only saw you practically 2 days ago. Let me get first started and say, did you go in the river today?
I don't know. I can't remember.
You can't remember if you went in the river. Did you go and catch those antheus I've been after?
I got underwater twice today. No, I think both times I went to the beach.
Right.
I had 2 swims, but at the beach, didn't go in the river. But I had a look, and the water was a lot clearer.
Yes.
But
Because,
I would have had to get in really early for a high tide snorkel this morning.
So for all you out there that haven't quite figured it out yet, the long-haired sidekick of mine in the videos where I'm collecting in the Nambucca River is the Bearded Reefer here, Gary. And unfortunately, his skills are getting a lot better at collecting fish than when I first met him. And he's swooping up certain fish that I had my eye on that you will probably see a little bit later on in this live stream downstairs in his man cave or his fish tank cave.
Well, I've become addicted to butterflies.
Yes,
and angelfish.
Right. Hence lies the issue, because so am I. But I've got my eye on those 2 orange antheus down the end, so keep your hands off those. Now, tonight, mate, we're going to be going through your 6-foot tank upstairs. If you want to turn the camera around and show people that, because you're in your dining room at the moment. And then as Gary does that, we're also going to be going downstairs to his man cave to check out his 6-foot Red Sea reefer. And he's got a little stash tank there and also a little introductory tank for some baby fish. And that way he can transition them through to, I guess, the bigger reef tanks. So, mate, this is you want to tell us a bit about how long you've had this tank going, and maybe a bit of the backstory to it?
Yeah, sure. This I've had this tank going as a saltwater tank for about coming up to 4 years this year. But before that, it was a turtle tank. With 4 what are they? Maclay shortneck turtles. Anyway, I changed it into a reef tank and did it a dodgy old way. I'll just show you. I ended up drilling a hole in it with my wife, and got that's called a Fiji cube that you can just buy online, and then do your own plumbing down to your sump, basically.
So the irony here is that the tank that you got downstairs is a full Red Sea reefer system, but it's not your main tank. This is your main tank, and you've kind of put it together because it was once a turtle tank.
Yeah, it was once a turtle tank. Yeah. So it started off as experimentation. My main reef tank was a small tank, which is downstairs as well, and that became successful fairly quickly. Fairly easy. So I thought, well, I'll fill this one up with salt water and get it started, because I knew how long it takes to get a tank mature. But it was done in a very, higgledy-piggledy fashion without much equipment. So first thing was, I filled it up with water. It was running off a canister filter, an FX6 Fluval. And then as I got more serious about it, I drilled, so it already had water in it and some clownfish and rocks and stuff. And then I decided, okay, now it's time to put a sump in, but I didn't want to drain the water out because it was such a nightmare getting it started. So I ended up drilling the hole for that pipe work and the little box I just showed you, the skimmer box, while the water was in the tank. Basically, I just lowered the water level down just under where I was drilling. And then myself and my wife crossed our fingers and hoped that the tank didn't split while I was drilling. Otherwise, water would have gone everywhere, because there was still probably 500 litres of water in it.
Gary, do you want to go down towards... Do you want to pan down towards the left-hand side of the tank where your Acropora Harita is and your hammer, and then maybe just give us a little look down there? But do you want to give us just pause on that area? Do you want to just give us a bit of a backstory as to some of the tribulations you had early on when you were trying to set this up as a reef tank?
Oh, it was a nightmare. I didn't know what to expect. I'm just trying. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's all back to front. Because unfortunately I started with dry rock, which was just coral. Like yourself, I collected a lot of coral pieces, on my travels around the beaches, and I glued them together with epoxy, thickened epoxy, to make certain shapes. All these rocks here were all just little coral pieces just glued together. And anyway, so what I'm saying is I started with sterile rock, which is an absolute nightmare because it had to go through the full ugly stage, and I didn't know what I was dealing with. Every time I went on YouTube, guys are going, oh, you've got the brown diatoms and all this sort of stuff. And they're recommending treatments to put in the tank and this and that. And, I'm scrubbing rocks every 2 days. I'm scrubbing brown diatoms off the rocks. And I just thought, this has got to be, it's not right. Do only certain people have luck with these reef tanks? Is it, am I going to, because you see these beautiful reef tanks without a scrap of algae in them whatsoever, and I'm just getting algae growing like crazy. I've got hardly any fish in there or waste or anything, and so that was a horrendous start until finally rest this on here so it stops shaking around.
Yeah, give us a look down the right hand side of the tank, Gary. Remember, it's back to front, mate.
Yeah, I know it.
You can pause it there for us, yeah? All right. So just for context, how long ago were you having the ugly phase?
How long ago?
Yep.
Well, 4 years ago.
Right. And then how long did it last?
Well, it lasted longer than probably what it should have because, like I said, I set the tank up. This was like a second tank that I was setting up, and I didn't have proper gear. I didn't have enough flow. I didn't have good lighting. I didn't have a protein skimmer. There were so many things that I did wrong. So yeah, it did last a long time. Probably lasted off and on, maybe 6 to 8 months.
Righto.
Had I have had, I mean, in hindsight, had I have used some live rock and some sort of, maturely cultured stuff in the tank, as well as correct flow, correct lighting, a protein skimmer, which, well, protein skimmer is not even really necessary because there wasn't that much waste. But yeah, had I done it differently, I think you could do it. Well, now I reckon I could set a tank up in, a month or two. But it's just experience and starting with sterile stuff and poor equipment.
Gary, you want to just turn the camera around and we'll address a couple of questions or comments, and then we might get you to do a bit of a tour of particularly the Acropora, because there's something that you've got going on with the Acropora, which I think is very successful and is particular to the kind of person that you are, which we have a bit of fun about the differences between you and me. But it'd be cool to sort of see the growth and the encrusting of some of those Acropora and talk about the reason why you've had that kind of success. Before we do that, let's have a go through some of these comments. Praddy87 says, "G'day to you."
Hey there, Praddy.
We've got the GC Fish Keeper says that you look like King Neptune.
Thanks, man.
I
do my best.
Hey?
I do my best. There's a lot of preparation goes into this appearance.
That's it.
Mainly two swims in the salt water every day. That's about it.
Rumi 1986 has he's quite taken by your Copperband Butterflyfish, and we will get into a lot about that after the Acropora. Yeah, I've got a video to play about that. The Ginger Ninja says that your tank is prettier than my face, which is a bit rough.
Yeah.
And we've got a comment from Rumi 1986 that says his algae hung around for ages. Personally, he thinks it's because it started with all dry Marco rock. It took so long for everything to get into balance. Have you got any thoughts about that? Well, you were roughly talking about that before, weren't you?
Yeah, exactly. You've started with sterile rock. The system was sterile. It didn't get a head start with anything. Even if you could go to a friend's place and just say,
hang on, mate, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. All right, so can't hear you, mate. Is your iPad not running out of battery? Can everybody in the chat just let me know if you can hear me? Gary, can you nod if you can hear me? All right, so you can hear me, but we can't hear you. Do you want to have a little talk? See if we can. All right, so your mic is not muted. Gold Coast Fish Keeper can hear me. All right. Can hear Adam, but not Gary. All right. So, Gary, your microphone setting on your iPad must be a bit... Have you accidentally touched the screen with your finger and there might be a setting on that screen? Have you muted yourself, basically? Guys, while Gary's just checking that out, what I'm going to do is play a bit of Gary's Copperband Butterflyfish background video. But Gary, just so you know, we can talk over that video. So if you want to just keep trying every now and then to test your audio, you can just talk at any stage and I'll let you know when I can hear you, okay? All right, I'll play this. So you just muted yourself then. You unmuted yourself now. Your volume must be down on your microphone. All right, guys. So let's get started with Gary's Copperband Butterflyfish saga. This is Gary's stash tank down below in his man cave. It only contains the 2 clownfish that you can see. At the moment, there's a few more fish in there, but back down then, there was only those 2 clownfish, and it was a place where Gary can introduce a new fish and get it accustomed to aquarium life. Gary, can you want to have a little talk and see if we can hear anything, mate? Nah, still no volume there, mate. What I might do, Gary, is I might take you out of the... I might remove you and then we can put you back in again, okay? I'll send you another link. All right, sorry guys about this. I'm just going to send Gary another link. All right. Let's start that again, guys, whilst I wait for Gary to turn up. So this is his stash tank. It's about a 2-foot kind of a cube. And yeah, clowns, a few different corals. There's more fish in there now, but this was his place to get acclimated. This was a Copperband that Gary bought from up at...
Can you hear me now, BJ?
We can, mate, although you are very crackly.
Oh, good. I wonder why. I'll move over near the router. Is that any better?
It's a little bit better.
All right, well, I'll sit over here, right next to it.
Gary, since Mason Marino, how you going, buddy? Good to see you here. And also Steve, g'day, mate. Gary, since I started to do this Copperband Butterflyfish video while you were inaudible, should I just play that now and you can just have a bit of a commentary about it since we've already started the process?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so I'll play that again. You want to talk us through it, mate?
All right. Yeah, so here you can see him. He'll come out and have a little look around. Very shy. You know, like you watch this, he comes out. This is a fresh mussel that I've got from the Nambucca River. Like, you can't get any fresher. He wouldn't try the mussels from Woolies, the New Zealand mussels. He wasn't interested in them. Look at that. Like, he's had a nibble now and then he goes, okay, I'm going away to hide. This is what he'd do all day. This was just times that I actually caught him coming out. You know, and this went on for 9 weeks. You know, here he goes, he has a bit there. That's a really good bit that he got there. I was really happy with that. He'll probably take off and go, see you later. Off he goes, yeah, bye, had my food. You know, that mussel would just sit there all day. Like in a normal tank, that mussel would be just devoured by fish. You know, this is how picky he was. And he wouldn't eat anything from the water column, no mysis,
putting mysis in there or any sort of frozen food, pellets, flakes would just be a waste of time, just polluting the water. But he was eating, he wasn't losing weight, so that was good. Sorry, Adam.
How long did you have to keep this Copperband butterflyfish in this tank?
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
I didn't have to keep him in there that long. I was just seeing if I could get any further success with his eating, which in the end I just got to a point where I thought, well, this is as good as it's going to get. 9 weeks had rolled over, and I thought, it's time to go in the big tank now, which this video here now is where I first put him in the big tank. And he handled it pretty well, apart from being harassed a little bit by a Scopus tang, which had a similar body shape to him. I had 2 mirrors down the end, which kept the other fish a little bit occupied, but I think because he was a fairly decent sized Copperband, they didn't really boss him around too much. Like if I introduced a new small tang or something like that, they'd give it a really hard time. But the Copperband, they didn't bother him too much, apart from the Scopus.
And
but no big deal. Yep.
But now he's in your main display tank. What do you have to do to try and get him to feed successfully without competition?
Yeah, well, there you see it there. I made up this feeder. You can buy them. You can buy good feeders online. And I just made that up from an old a tube. And I just happened to find something that fitted perfectly as a lid, and then used a suction clip off an old heater. But the food I had to put in was the same old deal. I had to put mussel in, chopped up mussels, chopped up prawn. I was making a mixture of chopped mussels and chopped prawn, and then I would put a little cube of mysis on top, all inside this contraption, all in an effort to try and get him to get onto some of the mysis, as well as transfer him onto the mysis as well as the other food, which I'm still in that process now. I've had him 6 months now. He will eat a little bit of mysis if it spills out of that feeder, but in the water column, he's still not chasing after mysis like all the other fish.
Yeah.
Maybe if it settles on the rocks, he gets it because he picks at rocks all day. I'm sure he does get something to eat. We've had this argument before, but he's maintaining his weight, and he's devoured hundreds of Aptasia. I would say at least 200 Aptasia I had in here, completely out of control. I was knocking them back with Aptasia X, but when you've got that many and you're trying to feed corals, they just impossible to get rid of, really. I was having them taking over rock, like a whole sheet of them on a rock, a whole sheet of Aptasia, small ones, and you'd squirt them, and I was squirting with sodium hydroxide. I was making a mixture of sodium hydroxide mixed with cowcrosser.
Yeah. Gary, are you when you're holding your iPad, are you covering the microphone over anything?
No. Why, is that still horrible sound?
Yeah, you sound a bit like an alien.
Maybe that's just my natural sound. Maybe
No.
it seems to be better to hold it away further. I'll hold it away a bit further. How's that?
Well, it's a bit better when you're further away, but it's definitely not the way. It sounds very different to last night. Let's put it that way.
There you go. I've got my clip on now. I'm not as blue.
Yeah. It's like there's some feedback or something. There's nothing else in the room which is turned on that might cause interference?
No, nothing apart from 50,000 gadgets attached to the aquarium. The router. But there's no vacuum cleaners going or anything.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll just have to persevere, I think, guys.
Yes.
I guess for context, though, for people's backstory, and we've talked about this a lot, Copperband butterflies are purchased probably by the tens of thousands across the world every year, if not more. and they are purchased, yes, because they're a pretty fish, but let's face it, most people initially think of them because they've got an aptasia problem. And in your experience, yes, they did take care of the aptasia problem, but there's a bigger problem that comes once those aptasia has been consumed. You had experience initially with one Copperband that you bought sight unseen.
Yes.
Which would be the case with most people that buy Copperbands that have come across the world from Indonesia. Do you want to tell us a bit about that first experience?
Yeah, well, it's like we've all been to fish shops, aquarium stores. You know, you can tell what a healthy fish is and what a healthy fish isn't. Also, with our experience now with our own butterflies, I've got 8 different species of butterflies now downstairs. Yeah, when you get a paper-thin fish, you know there's going to be problems. So, buying sight unseen, yeah, you know, you could, and same with people in America, they're probably getting them from, I mean, I don't fully understand it, but it's from Indonesia, maybe, caught with, what are the crazy methods they use to catch over there, explosives, poisons, I don't know.
Cyanide.
Cyanide, yeah. So the fish is obviously not eating, no way in the world. So it's been transported to America, England, whatever other countries, you know, people are getting these fish, and then you're buying it thinking, oh, I'll just put it in the tank and, you know, hopefully it'll come good like all my other fish have, and yeah, not a chance, you know, they'll just perish.
Yeah. Now you after that, so you had one initial that was bought online and basically arrived at your house dead, more or less.
99% dead, yeah.
Yeah, and then we had a conversation, and you ended up buying from a Gold Coast retail store up there, which is the fish that you got right now. But do you want to talk a little bit about the importance of time and patience that's gone into getting this fish to where it is, and also not only getting it to where it is now, what it's taking you to consistently maintain that fish in your display at the moment? You can turn it around, the camera around if you want, and you can show us your Copperband whilst you're talking.
Yeah, let's do that. Oh, there he is. Yeah, so what was the question?
Well, the question was, is
I'm
it
joking.
no? Well,
Yeah.
you know, basically, most people think they can pop and drop this kind of fish in their tank to do a job, and it's going to feed itself and live sustainably off the tank. But that's not the case, is it?
No. And, you know, a lot of us, you know, a lot of reefers, you know, we do research. You know, once you get into a point where you've got all these corals, you know, expensive corals that you care about, so you do the same with your fish. You know, I researched the Copperband. All I heard was negative horror stories. You know, don't buy a Copperband. Do not buy this fish. You know, so many, like you just said, hundreds of thousands of Copperbands are being killed. You know, by people not doing the right thing, you know, and all that. So when I bought the Copperband, I was reluctant, but I was desperate, and I thought, well, it seems to be the only thing that I've actually seen eat aptasia, because I saw it eat them on a video. So I was prepared to do whatever I had to do, and I'm in a position where I'm retired, so I've got time to check on it throughout the day, you know.
Where's your Copperband now, Gary?
I don't know.
You forgot to look at him, didn't you? There he is.
Oh, he is. Well, he wasn't on screen before. Yeah,
So
I was prepared for, well, I was prepared for a challenge, a really serious challenge, you know, and the more serious the challenge, the more I'll take it on. So I was lucky in that I got a fish that looked pretty healthy when I drove up to Queensland to the coral shop. I'd already bought the fish, but I drove up to pick him up. And to their credit, they were reluctant to send it anyway. They said, "Oh, we don't like sending copper bands," which I thought, that's a good thing, that they have that attitude. Anyway, so I was lucky enough to go up, get a fish. He was bigger than what I even thought he would be. They said he'd been eating, but I mean, I didn't really believe that. Because when I got him back, he looked like he'd never seen mice or shrimp in his life, or just was definitely not interested in it. And then so then I went to, feeding the mussels, and my greatest fear was, that's why I kept him in there for 9 weeks. My fear was that what's going to happen to him when I put him in this display tank with 6 different species of tangs, a moon wrasse, these other fish that are just going to compete like crazy and gobble the food down. You saw what it was like in that other video. He'd come and have a little look at the food, think about it for a while, and maybe swim back and hide and not even have a bite. Come back an hour later, have another think about it. Yeah. So I was very concerned what was going to happen to him when he came up to the tank.
Yep. Okay. So what are your, and so you are retired.
Yeah.
You have the capacity to feed or to collect fresh seafood, such as these mussels. You have the capacity to monitor your fish throughout the day and to effectively pamper on the or pamper, I should say, the butterfly and do what's required. What would you say for the people out there that are hoping they could buy a copper band, pop it in their tank? Yes, it'll eat the Actasia, hopefully, but then feed once or twice a day when they get back from work or leave in the morning.
Well, for starters, it probably won't eat your Actasia because it won't be settled into the tank happily and eating. It's not going to just dive into your tank and go, "Oh, geez, I'm hungry, I'm starving to death. Oh, look, there's some Actasia, I'm going to eat it." I think more likely the copper band has to be settled and happy in the tank to treat the tank as his home, and then once he's completely relaxed, etc., he'll start cruising the tank and going, "Oh yeah, I'm going to eat all these Actasia, happy days," and just as he's cruising in his relaxed way of life. Because when I first put this guy, he didn't touch the Actasia. I was just concentrating on trying to get him to get a little bit of food out of that feeder before all the other fish got to it before him. I was even just putting mussels on the bottom of the tank, which he was used to from the smaller tank. So if he was lucky, he got a little nibble on an actually shelled mussel on the bottom.
Yep.
And then as time went on, as a couple of weeks went on, and I could tell that he was getting a little bit of food every day, I noticed him start to take an Actasia or two, and then all of a sudden, without me even noticing it, he must have got a taste for it. I used to see him hiding behind the rocks. I knew he'd be up to something, and because there was giant Actasias at the back of this section here, huge Actasias, and they're all gone, like just totally gone. So he didn't care what size they were. He ended up eating just any Actasia he could find.
Yeah. Gary, do you want to just pop your iPad down on the stool?
On the stool?
Yep.
Sorry. Yep.
That's all right. And I'm just going to ask you a favor. Do you want to just see if you could, I don't know if there's something different in the room. You want to go and open one of the doors just to try and let signals through? I think it's your internet signal, and we're having some people having trouble hearing you. I know it's such a pain, guys, because last night Gary and I did a run through and it was absolutely perfect as you expect. But every now and then, just like now, your internet service lags behind. It catches still, it pauses before the video catches up. So I feel like it's your internet service that's causing us a bit of an issue.
Well, there it is. There, it's right next to me. It's right next to
Yeah.
right next to the tank. I can't get much closer.
I think, yeah, there's just something that's, I don't understand it, to be honest with you, mate. I might just address a couple of questions myself, Gary, while you take a little relax. I had a question there. Let me go and see if I can find it from Mason about quarantine. Where are we? Mason Areno. There we go. Let's have a look. Mason says, I've seen when you, Adam, collect fish, you put them straight into your main display without a quarantine process. Have you ever quarantined fish, or is it a bit situational on where they come from? Mason, it's not so much being situational as to where they come from. For me, it's that my main concerns that they will have a parasite, which is, let's face it, going to be a white spot or a velvet. I already have those two. Well, not two, but I already have a white spot parasite in my tank, and I've had it there for quite some time, ever since I bought another hobbyist blue tang. So ever since that time, and I've keep large aquariums, I've decided to go down the pathway of disease management as opposed to a observational quarantine and then treatment process if need be. By the way, this is my reef beef, my beef. Quarantine does not mean that you bombard it with copper and Prazipro and all these sorts of things. Quarantine is isolation from others, so you can go through a process of observation, just like good old COVID days. So I really hate the way quarantine has become, that we do a shotgun therapy. That's my little beef out there. But no, mate. So I manage a parasite in my tank, and I do that through a very large UV sterilizer, through feeding a lot, and in particular, a lot of mussels, and just being aware of what species I'm adding to the tank. So that my most prone fish would be my clown tang, followed by the butterfly fish, and that's the reason why I feed so many mussels to my butterfly fish. I will say, a bit like Steve from Fish Collecting has said in the past, that the faster or the shorter the chain of custody, i.e. the faster that you get your fish, in my case from the river back to the aquarium, the less stress there is, and the less stress means that the fish is not going to succumb to some sort of infection. Call me a bit more il natural, I guess. So Steve, Fish Collecting, straight from the sea, acclimate, and then into the tank. I think Steve might actually do a bit of an observational period in a separate tank. I could be wrong. Gold Coast Fish Keeper comments, in a facility like Cairns Marine, most of their systems are connected. So if there's one sick fish, it can affect them all. But in the wild, it's harder for them to get parasites as there's not so close together, which is absolutely true in a sense. Mate, they'll still get parasites, but what happens is they don't necessarily get the chance to get reinfected because the fish has swum on into a bit of habitat, a bit of the ocean, a bit of the sea, or a bit of the river, and potentially the parasite has been left behind. They might have a period of time where they haven't been reinfected. They might get reinfected again in the future. They've had exposure to that pathogen, and then they have a little bit of, I'm not going to say resistance, but a bit of vigor against that parasite. And yes, in a closed system such as our tanks, or in a recirculating system like the wholesalers and in many retail stores, one sick fish means all sick fish. And that's part of the reason why retail stores will run copper. Stephen Buckland says quarantined mine. He made sure it ate frozen and Aptasia before adding to the display. It ate frozen in a coarse mesh net, so he eats a ton before releasing what remains. Yeah. So again, Stephen's putting in a bit of effort, just like Gary, you've done there with your feeder. What have we got here? G'day, Mad Dog. How are you, buddy? Gold Coast fish keeper. Like a fish is caught from the Great Barrier Reef, then to the facility, then to the store, then to your tank. There's a lot of stress associated. Yeah, mate, absolutely. So that's back to the fact that collecting your own fish and minimizing the handling and minimizing the amount of time between the source and your aquarium, and the stress reduction is immense to the strength and vigor of your fish and how it can resist disease or parasites. Morning, Raven Call. How are you, buddy? How are you? Gary, just checking any more comments here, mate.
Can you hear me at all?
It's still really bad audio.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Fish collecting. Oh, okay. So, Gary, I'm a bit mistaken with Steve. Fish collecting. He puts a plastic container, basically a acclimation box inside the tank to acclimate the fish, as opposed to doing it separately. Yeah. I've got a question here from Ling Nguyen. Will you do an experiment keeping Copperband Butterflyfish video in the future? Mate, I'm not sure what you mean by an experiment keeping the Copperband Butterflyfish in the future. Yeah, I don't quite know about that. Gary, I've got a suggestion here from Pratty87 that says, have you tried turning your settings on your iPad, turn your mic settings off and then on again?
Yeah, I've done that.
You've done that, have you?
Well, I don't know. Where are the mic settings?
Hey?
Where are the mics? Which mic settings is he talking about? Which mic settings?
I'm assuming that somewhere on the control panel of your iPad there would be a up in the top corner, like on an iMac, there'd be a little Apple icon, and you could probably go down to system settings. And then from system settings, you could probably check where's
If I muck around, I'll probably. What if I just go onto my iPhone? That might work.
onto the iPhone.
Yeah. Make the whole
You could
device.
try that. How about what I do? Guys, just stick in there. I can see we've got a couple of questions there from Mason regarding the twin spot gobies, and we've got a question about threadfin butterflyfish in traps. So I'll get to those. What I'm going to do just before I get to those, guys, is I'm going to send Gary another link. I'm sure you can hear me, Gary. I'm going to send it to you, and you can open that with your iPhone, mate, okay? And then if need be, I'm just pulling up messages now. If need be, we can then go from there with your iPhone, and we can can the iPad. All right. So if you want to pop your iPad down on the stool just to face the tank for us. This is doing your head in, isn't it, mate?
It's not going to sit on the stool by itself. I've got to hold it there.
They should have a cover thing that you can fold out, mate.
Yeah, it has, but it puts it on an angle.
That's right. Just do what you got to do, and I'll answer a few questions here whilst you answer your iPhone link, okay?
All right.
All All right, mate, no worries. So, question: do threadfin butterfly fish go in traps? GC Fishkeeper Europe, mate. No, in my experience, threadfin butterfly fish are extremely easy to catch at night time with a head torch. They are out right now in places like marinas, and you can dip net them pretty easily. You can also catch them during the daytime by snorkeling. When they get big, you're going to need some sort of barrier net, which we can't have down in New South Wales because monofilament is illegal. When they're small, sort of, let me just get this screen up. When they're small and they're about that big, which is about less than 5 centimeters, you'll be able to catch them by snorkeling with 2 nets. But I find, quite honestly, I was out there looking for a coral rock cod at my marina last night. There were threadfin butterflies around the place. I could dip net them easily. Another question here. They seem interested in shrimp today. Yeah, I in my experience, I've never had a butterfly fish go on a trap. Mason Areno, an experiment like with the twin spot gobies. Okay, so all right, Gary. So what I'm going to get you to do now is to turn the lights off. All right.
How's that?
Yep. That's perfect, mate.
Why am I getting? Hang on.
What makes? Let's have a look at this. Pratty, we have turned the device on and off, mate. It's I don't know what's going on down there at the moment, but there's obviously an internet issue because it does stall every now and then. What makes a fish easier to catch at night? Well, for starters, there are only certain fish that come out at night time. You're not going to catch wrasse like at night time because they are always asleep, tucked up. But there are certain fish which are semi-nocturnal. The semi-nocturnal is the part. And butterfly fish, some surgeon fish, such as the convict tang, and others, such as snappers, are out and about at night time, but they don't have the vision that other nocturnal fish, such as
Is it
soldier
bucking up
fish.
for you there?
Yeah, it's a bit jerky, but your volume's okay, though. So they don't have the vision that the soldier fish and squirrel fish have got. What it means, though, when you shine a very bright torch at that threadfin butterfly fish from above, it just kind of stalls. It just doesn't quite know what to do. And then when it reacts very slowly. I'm telling you, mate, you're resistant to go out at nighttime. It's a game changer when it comes to collecting certain fish. They're so easy to scoop up, okay? But forget about fish that have good night vision, such as soldier fish and squirrel fish. In terms of the here we go, twin spot gobies, Copperband. The twin spot gobies, I think what you mean is that I'm not directly feeding them, I'm feeding the tank. And could you do that with a Copperband Butterflyfish? I think you probably could. I think it would need to be obviously a lot larger tank, and it would need to be one that would sort of foster those worms. What were those worms called with all the little tentacles and filaments that come out of the sand? If anyone knows that, let me know. But yeah, it'd be a much larger tank. You'd be talking probably something about a 6-foot tank, I would say, because Copperbands just get, so big. Live from inside his tank, hence the quality of the sound. Flowers with horns. Happy aloha, Saturday or Sunday, depending on where in the sphere you are. G'day, Flowers with Horns. How are you, mate? Welcome. Must be from Hawaii. iPad was actually a very new one. I think the iPhone's a lot older. I'm just going to unmute you, Gary, now. and bring you back onto the stage. You want to turn your phone around sideways in the landscape mode, Gary? Bingo, mate. Look at that. Spaghetti worms. Thanks, Stephen. That's the go. Yeah. So, Gary, have you ever done any nighttime spotlighting at Nambucca, Gary?
Not since I was about 8 years old, and then it was spotlighting for prawns.
Because it really is, when it comes to saltwater fish, a game changer. I've seen on Facebook there's been a fellow in Hawaii that's doing all this netting in the rock pools, or tide pools as they're called over there. And these just, I mean, some of it seems like it's just too good to be true, because he's holding up full-size unicorn tangs and big giant butterflies and all sorts of stuff. But I mean, I've found for certain species such as the threadfin butterflies, raccoon butterflies, obviously the snappers, and what was your convict tangs? It's so much easier, so much easier. And yes, Praddy, Gary is a Nambucca local. Right, I've got one question here, Gary. We'll move on to a bit about your personality, I think, when it comes to those Acroporas, and then we might jump downstairs to see your man cave with the other tanks. But I've got one question here from Mason Areno that is, I have a question a bit off topic. In your large freshwater native tank, I recall seeing filtration being just that cylindrical disc thing. Do you have any other filtration on it? No. Mason, I don't, other than at times a DIY repurposed RODI canister, which I use for activated carbon. But no, there's no other filtration in that tank. That disc filter is about a 2 foot long commercial irrigation filter that's meant to be for collecting sediment. So it's a particulate filter, mechanical filter before irrigation into drip systems. But obviously it's going to get colonized by bacteria. And this was the first time I used it. So it now basically acts as not only a mechanical, but also a biological filter. One thing I will say is your pump needs to be of high head pressure to be able to push water through it. Obviously, in a commercial irrigation setting, I'm using an irrigation pump from down a bore, so there's no issues there. But what I find in my aquarium is that I'm using a Laguna 16,500 litre max jet pump inside the aquarium and push the water through, and it does block up the flow within about 5 days, in which I've got to disconnect it and hose it off. So it's doing a great job of mechanical filtration, but I want to make sure I'm getting enough water flow through for the biological as well. But in saying that, all those plants in there, there's plenty of nutrients being sucked up. And my last test showed that I had 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and my nitrate was sitting at 19 parts per million, which, considering the size of the Saratoga and those sooty grunters, I'm pretty happy with. All right. This might be... Okay, here's a question for you, Gary.
Yeah. Can you hear me all right?
I can, mate. You sound good now.
Oh, great.
Gary, the question is, what do you attribute to the success in keeping the copper bands? Praddy has killed more than he wants to admit. Don't worry, mate. I've kept 3 copper bands over my 20 years, and I don't have any currently in my care. So, Gary, what do you attribute your success to that individual?
Well, no offense, but haven't we just been talking? What else can I say? Probably the fact that I'm just retired and I've got time.
Yep.
You know, and I think where I bought them, you know, like where did you get yours from? I mean, am I talking to somebody here that's had poor success?
Are you asking Praddy where he got his from?
Is this from Praddy?
Yep.
Yeah. So, Paddy, where did you get yours from? Were your fish quality fish to start with? Where did they come from? You know, did you look at them? What size were they?
Yeah.
And did you go through the process of just trying to hammer them with mussels? Because if they would need anything else.
Yeah. But
That's what
I mean, we've talked about it so many times. It's your time on your hands, and you're being retired, and your careful personality.
Well, I was also lucky enough to have a tank down in my man cave that was, I call it a semi-quarantine tank. I use it as a quarantine tank, but it's an established little tank with a bit of rock work. It had a few Aptasia in it. It's got like, the tube worms and whatnot. So that's a pretty comfortable tank to throw fish in for quarantine. You know what I mean? So maybe that helped rather than if swim into a, rather bare, sterile sort of quarantine tank that you see in local fish stores. That might have helped as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pratty does say that he didn't try mussels. What do you think you would have had the success if you didn't use mussels?
No, I think the fish probably would have starved to death.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to turn your camera around, Gary? And while you do that, I've got another question for you from Vroomy, because it's a question regarding coral and the butterfly. So in that tank upstairs at the moment, Gary, just to confirm, you've only got the one butterfly fish. Guys, downstairs, we're going to go very shortly. Gary's got so many butterflies that it's making me feel jealous at times. Gary, the question is, just make sure you try and keep that phone as still as you can, mate. Gary, I've just stripped my 7-foot aquarium, always focused on the coral side of the hobby. I'm planning on going mostly butterflies and small gobies. What corals would you recommend, if any, with them?
Right.
It might be easier to discuss the corals that you have found have been eaten.
Yeah. Well, you're the expert there, Big Ed. Like, the Copperband doesn't seem to eat many corals at all, mainly acans. But the other butterflies, I mean, I'm no expert. I'm only a novice with all the other butterflies. But I would go for, well, I'm actually doing exactly the same thing as who's the guy who's just questioned that.
Vroomy.
Vroomy. Yeah, I'm actually doing a very similar thing, Vroomy. But what I'll be going with is Acropora, SPS, lots of Montipora, and yeah, anything that they won't eat, which they're going to eat. Adam reckons that they eat anemones.
Yeah. Well, Gary, what coral in that tank? So we all know Copperband is probably one of the most safe butterflies you can have in a reef tank. But in that tank you've got there, what coral did that Copperband eat?
Well, only acans.
Right.
That's it.
So just go down the left-hand side of the tank to show people. Other side. That's it. Keep going. All right. So Gary's got some Platygyra. He's got some Goniopora or Goniopora. He's got an Alveopora, which is closing up because it's nighttime coming. Keep on going, Gary. You've got green star polyps. You've got plenty more gonies. You've got a hammerback there and plenty of zoanthids, as well as bubble-tipped anemones, monopora, and acropora. There's a lovely Acropora harita just up the top there, as well as some Acropora nasuta. And the only thing that Copperband has eaten has been the Micromusa, Lord
And
Howensis.
also surprisingly, he didn't eat. What's that called, Adam?
Is that an acorn Bower Bankai?
Yeah, the Bowerbanky. Yeah, he hasn't. I was surprised, but he hasn't. I have never seen him have a go at that either.
Yeah. So, Vroomy, for your experience or what you're trying to do, I've got. Well, that's the wrong question. Sorry, guys. That one. So I've got, as Gary does downstairs, plenty of butterflies in my Palau tank, and there are a few corals which I've found to be an absolute no-no. Now, I don't really enjoy LPS corals, so the only LPS coral in my tank, my Palau tank, is my Duncanopsamia affinis, the Duncan. And I can confirm that none of the butterflies have ever shown a sign of eating it, which is fantastic because I think a Duncan is probably one of the best LPS corals for the aquarium. So that's threadfin, raccoon, dusky, vagabond, Klein's, and what's the other one I've got, Gary? I can't even think now. But none of them have touched the Duncan. None of them have touched any of the soft corals, with the exception of Cladiella, which is cookies and cream. That's that brown soft coral, branching soft coral. They all love to eat the polyps off the Cladiella, and so it becomes more of a cream as opposed to a cookies and cream. But the Sinulares are safe. I have seen a Klein's butterfly, which is interesting, every now and then pluck polyps off a sarcophyton, because the Klein's, at least overseas, is being recommended as one of the possible alternatives to a Copperband Butterflyfish. Very early on, when you add an SPS coral to the tank, such as especially a wild-caught colony of Acropora, the butterflies will absolutely inspect every nook and cranny, and you'll be surprised about some tissue which will be removed from a colony of Acropora. And what it is, I feel, is parasites and diseased or sick tissue which is on the colony that they're removing. And once they've done that, they leave it alone. Gary, I'd love to do a video between your experiences downstairs. Do you want to start walking on downstairs, Gary, and show us the tanks down there with your butterflies, and I'll keep answering a few questions?
Yep.
All right, mate, you do that. So I'd love to do a bit of a video between Gary and myself as to what butterfly fish are safe with in regards to coral, because I honestly feel like butterfly fish should be treated more like dwarf angelfish with their preferences, and not like the shock horror species that have in a reef tank. One thing I will say is they will definitely eat acants, they would definitely eat xenia, and they would definitely eat bubble-tipped anemones. They shred them as soon as they hit the water. Other than that, so far, safe. Questions?
I hope this still works down here.
I can hear you all right, mate, so that's good.
That's good. Oh, what?
Hey, Gary, we've got a question about upstairs. What lights were you running on that tank upstairs?
Yeah, we didn't get onto that. Yeah, that was a crazy organisation of lights. It was, I had one Radeon, the small one. What's that, the 15? Can you hear me?
Yeah, XR15.
XR15 proper Radeon.
Yep.
Then I had two of the fake Radeons, the A8s, the 30 Pros, whatever you want to call them, A8s.
Yep.
We don't need to, we can have a discussion on how good these are later on. As lights, they actually work good, but as programming and switching them on and that sort of thing, they're, yeah, a bit of a nightmare.
Yep.
So two of those on each end. Then I have a Radeon in the middle, and then I have a Pop Bloom double, one of the new ones, which you might remember what they are at. What are they? Like two 90s together.
Just go on selfie mode, Gary, so we can see your face, mate, while we answer these questions.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, hang on. Before you do that, Gary, before you do
Sorry?
that, are the lights on in the Red Sea Reefer? Because it looks pretty dark over there.
No, they're not for some reason, and I'm just about to address that problem right now.
All right, you do that. Let us know when you're ready, okay? More questions, guys.
Ready now.
Raven Core, how are you, mate? Asks, Australian Aquarist, are you allowed to collect corals in Australia, and would that be on a different license? Mate, as a recreational hobbyist, you're not allowed to collect corals in Australia. As a commercial entity, Cairns Marine, Monsoon, obviously you can. So, yeah, basically, no, you're not allowed to. Daniel Witcher says, hi, everyone, late again. Daniel, how you going, buddy? We had some more questions. I had a question there from Ling Nguyen. Now, here's one that's a bit more recent. Ling, Anthias versus blue-green chromis, which would be your choice for a schooling fish in your tank? Mate, one thing you should realise is that neither Anthias nor blue-green chromis are schooling fish. So when you think about their behaviour, they aggregate above a coral head. They are acting individually, and they are under the influence of a dominant fish. So usually a male fish. That means that they are territorial and they're aware of their space in the water column. They're not schooling. So the true definition of a schooling fish, and the thing that the reef aquarist really wants to replicate, is that freshwater scene with the neon tetras or the cardinal fish or the rummy-nosed tetras. But in the marine side of things, you're really looking to the silvery fishes to get that. So a schooling fish is aware of who's next to it and who's on the other side, and is reacting to the movements of that fish on that side and that fish. They turn at the same time. They swim at the same speed, and no fish in that school has hierarchy over the others. So you've got to think about things like mullet, garfish, in terms of the coral reef, trevally, snappers, fusiliers. So to answer your question, neither Anthias nor blue-green chromis are suitable as a schooling fish in the reef tank. It doesn't mean that you can't keep them as a group, but the way to keep them as a group, regardless of which one you choose, is the same. Again, they're territorial, so they're fighting for resources, hence the reason why they die or they get bullied to death. So you need water movement, fast water movement to keep them busy. You need to feed them a lot. 8 times a day is the average auto feeder, and a very, very small pellet size, like a 0.5 mil pellet size, as well as frozen foods when you're there. And keep as big a group as possible. So if you've got a 6-foot tank or a 7-foot tank, then maybe go for something like a group of maybe 15 to 20. Put them all in at the same time. In my experience, I've had my group of blue-green chromis for about 8 years. Started with 10. I've now got 7. I had 8 for about, I don't know, 6 years. 1 died. I've got 3 boys and 4 girls, and they spawn on the back. Anthias, I've kept the Squamopinus and the Dispars, and they weren't as successful as the blue-green chromis. So that would be your best bet in my mind. But there's some tips for you, mate. You still there, Gary? Still there, Gary?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you, mate, and you're showing us your new urchin.
Yes.
I remember seeing him in the river. So do you want to just jump back a bit, Gary, and just introduce everybody to your Red Sea Reefer? Keep going back. Keep going back.
Okay, it's a bit tricky now because I'm on my phone. So how's that coming up? These fish have all just woken up, by the way, because the idiot me forgot to. I was certain that I had done it, but apparently I hadn't taken it off the timer. So they went
do you have your yellow lens on the front, Gary?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe put the phone up higher so it's not getting the blue. Don't go sideways. High. That's better. So come up higher. All right. So go back a bit. Show us your overall tank. This is a Red Sea Reefer 6-foot tank, 19 mil glass, weighs a ton. Ask me how I know. Lights on top. What do you got there, Gary?
Well, these are just 3 RL90 pop blooms. So it's underlit, but it's all I've got at the moment. I did have these on the tank we just looked at upstairs until I hodgedly upgraded it with those A8s and a small Radion. So this will eventually get, I haven't decided, but it will get better lit than that. And then I will gradually start adding SPS corals to it.
Yeah. Now,
In
Gary, funny enough, we had a question earlier on about the lights upstairs, and you've got that Radion XR15 on the middle on the left. You've got a pop bloom middle right, and then on each far end you've got one of the A8 Ecotech knockoffs. What's your favourite light upstairs?
You've asked me this before, Adam. Is it a trick question?
No.
Well, my favourite light, the Radion 15 is not strong enough. Obviously, they're a fantastic light. So if I was rich, I would have Radion 30s up there for sure, because they're reliable. I mean, they're expensive as hell, so I wouldn't buy them. But if money wasn't a problem, that would be the go. But as far as my favourite light, probably the most reliable and most powerful light is the actual pop bloom. The program that it's on, I mean, it's only a cheap light from China, but the program that it comes with works, is simple to use, and it's reliable.
And I can contest that pop bloom's bright up there, isn't it? It really punches down.
Quite bright. I've had to actually turn it down because it was bleaching some of the corals out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some of those Acroporas up there are growing fine. Those little frags that I've started up, they're growing fine just on the bottom of the tank, growing absolutely great.
Yeah,
I'm actually frightened to lift them up.
Gary, so, I just want to answer one question here because Jeremy Rodriguez has asked this a second time for me. Sorry, buddy. He asked, not sure if I answered my question already, but was I going to ask, how do I feel about Prognathodes guyensis, the French butterfly? Jeremy, I haven't answered that question already, mate. It's just that I know nothing about that fish. I don't keep non-Australian fish, I don't think. Gary, do I keep any non-Australian fish? No, I don't. And really, yeah, there's enough fish in Australia to keep us busy as it is. That group of fish, the Prognathodes group of butterfly fish, I don't really know a lot about, mate. I think it's sort of a semi between a Chaetodon and a long nose or a Chelman's kind of a butterfly fish. So I can't really help you, mate. In terms of, I know it's very expensive. Would I be prepared to spend big money on a fish? What's the most money you spent on a fish, Gary?
Me? Probably maybe $140, maybe.
That was the Copperband Butterfly, wasn't it?
No, the Copperband Butterfly, surprisingly, was only $90.
Oh, okay, all right.
Which led me to think maybe this was a dud. We won't say dud fish. I've learned my lesson there, but maybe somebody had taken this back to the store saying it doesn't eat Aptasia or it's just not a good fish. because I was surprised at the price and the size and the help. Yeah, $90 that one was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Probably the nearest fish I bought is a oh, anyway, I'll let you go.
no, I'm just trying to think what the most expensive fish that I ever bought.
Tomini Tang. Tomini Tang. They're starting to get up in price.
Grab me.
Blue Tangs are starting to get up in price now.
Oh, blue tangs are ridiculous the price they are now. I think the most expensive fish I've ever bought was probably it was a regal angelfish. Now get this. So a regal angelfish, Pygalopides, I bought it from Cairns Marine back in 2010 when it was open to retail. And I think I spent $140 on that regal angelfish, and now they're probably $230 or something like that. To be honest with you, I think we spend most of our time collecting around fish now, don't we, Gary?
Yes.
Now, mate, do you want to just? I'm trying to keep up with the chat as well as questions, as well as get you talking about that tank. Daniel Witcher says he loves the scape. It's very Iwagumi.
Haha. Well, the scape, I must say, was helped along by Adam. I'm not going to give you full credit for it, Adam. I selected these rocks. I had the idea in the first place. I just needed your expertise to really make it look nice. Yeah, so Adam did come and help me scape the tank, and did a great job.
And you did turn that rock on the right-hand side around facing inwards rather than the other way around. I won't, we won't dwell on that too much, but that's
yeah,
fine.
Originally I had all the rocks facing the one way as like, like more of a dynamic reef situation where they're all getting blown one way rather than an Iwagumi still fresh water scene.
See if you can rest your phone on your knees or your elbows, Gary.
I know what I could rest. Yeah, but then, sorry, am I bouncing around?
You are a bit, mate. Yeah. So that rock is that's perfect, Gary. That rock is locally collected Nambucca rock.
Yep.
It's not limestone. It's a solid, dense rock, so it's not going to provide any biological filtration within it. Obviously, it'll have surface bacteria.
Why would you do that?
This system, Gary's been going for, what is it, about 6 months?
Yeah, a bit longer than that. Probably more like 8 to 10 months.
Okay. You got great coralline. I always get jealous of your coralline because I don't grow it except for this dark red kind of thing. It must be my selenium or phosphates. Anyhow, what's the overall plan with this tank, Gary?
Well, as I spoke earlier, the overall plan is to start bringing some of my Acropora frags down here and see how they go.
Yep.
And try and maintain at the same time lots of butterfly fish, and maybe there is one little angel in there. Maybe some more dwarf angels, that sort of thing. Just maybe some nice sea urchins. Yeah, just a few different things that I haven't tried yet upstairs that I'm not game to put in with the Acropora upstairs.
So, Gary, Fish Collecting 9149 says that how many fish in that tank have you collected? Those butterflies look young. What have you collected and what have you not? Give us a run through of what fish are in the tank.
Yeah, well, the butterflies have been collected. Actually, all the fish in there are local fish, except for the Scopus tang, which you can't even see him at the moment, and the foxface.
Yep.
All the others are local area fish.
So you've got a couple of young yellowfin surgeonfish there. One's dead center at the moment near that piece of Montipora red scrolling. You've got...
Yeah, they just came from a rock pool last summer, and they were tiny, just out of a rock pool at the beach.
You've got the chocolate goby or brown barred goby just there going up towards the left-hand side, which if it still stays in the tank in about 1 month's time, I owe you a beverage.
That is correct.
A saber-tooth blenny by the looks of it.
Yep.
You've got a lovely wedge-tailed triggerfish.
Triggerfish that, yeah, I acquired from a friend. I didn't actually catch.
That was before. That was why you were still an apprentice, I believe. But
Yes.
since the apprenticeship days, you've gone crazy with the butterflies. Give us a rundown of what butterflies you got going on.
Well, should we have a look at this other tank before my phone runs out?
Yeah, mate, go for it.
That question? Yeah, well, because I think the phone's going to run out soon, and we'll have to do something else. Is that coming through, or is it too dark?
No, that's perfectly fine. You're a bit jerky, but you're perfectly fine.
Try not to jerk. Okay, so obviously we've got threadfin butterflies, vagabonds. I even am lucky enough in here to have a Mertens, which Adam is very not happy about.
You mean my Mertens?
Yeah. I don't know if you can see him. Mertens is the one with the chevrons. So also we have this little, what's this one called, Big Ed?
Dot and Dash.
The Dot and Dash. He's one of my favourites. Very small, but absolutely beautiful little fish. Can you see him?
Yes, we can, mate.
Okay. What else have we got? A chevron. There's the chevron there. And that's about it.
You got a melanotus in there somewhere as well.
We have a little black. There he is, a little black back there. Beautiful fish.
And funnily enough, we had a question a long time ago, guys in the chat. I can't remember where it came from, but it was about corallivore butterflies and whether or not it's capable to substitute some sort of food in captivity for the coral tissue. And the black-backed butterfly or the melanotus butterfly that's a clownfish, Gary, not a black-backed butterfly. Come on, buddy.
That's clownfish eggs.
All right, okay. That's because you're looking at where you're going. Show us a black-backed butterfly, Gaz. In the words of my wife, do better.
Oh, I was just showing you about clownfish
There
eggs.
he is. There he is. Top left. Far left. Black-back down. There we go. Black-back butterfly near the Signalaria. There it is there. So those guys, if you read Fishes of Australia, are a corallivore. They're an obligate corallivore, but clearly that's not the case because, Steve, as you know, mate, we find these in estuaries all the time where there is no coral. However, the question is, once they get into a tank with coral, are they going to eat coral? And can we substitute the diet of corallivorous butterflies with something else? Mate, I don't know. When it comes to things like cleanoras, it's been said that the slime of other fish is important for the gut health and digestive health of the cleanoras, and without the slime, they don't thrive. Is that the truth when it comes to certain butterfly fish, certain corallivores? If we were to go and put a Baronessa or maybe a melon butterfly in a tank and get it to successfully survive on mastic or something like that, clams, will it eventually wither away because it hasn't got that coral slime? I don't know, mate. I don't know. You got some bannerfish in there too, Gary.
Yes, 2 bannerfish. Which I don't know. Are they a type of butterfly fish?
They certainly are, mate. They
So we can add them to. So I think altogether I have 8 or 9 species, and because of course we have the Copperband Butterflyfish upstairs.
Yeah, Gary. Question from Ling Nguyen. Do your butterfly fish take pellets?
Yes, some of them do. Some of these guys in this tank do. The threadfins, the vagabonds, the striped guy that we just spoke about that Adam likes. What was he called, Adam? Quickly, the Mertens.
Yep.
He's a very good eater.
You mean
Yeah. So some of the
are you saying that my fish eats pellets?
Sorry.
Are you saying that my Mertens eats pellets?
Yep.
You know that one day that Merton's going to come back to me when you decide to bring some certain coral that you absolutely love down to that Red Sea reefer, and you'll find that the Mertens eats it, and then you'll go, Adam.
That could be the case. He is very adventurous.
I got a question from Ling Nguyen again. Adam, what happened to the group of old wife fish? Those were stunning. So Ling's referring to an old, it's actually my peninsula, my current marine iwagumi, which you haven't seen a video about yet because I'm still fine tuning the growth of the caulerpa. But I had Caulerpa filiformis and I had a group of old wives that look a bit like freshwater angelfish. Mate, those fish, they were a struggle, to be honest with you. There was one or two that would eat pellets, and the rest would not eat pellets. They'd only eat live shrimp or live tiny whitebait. I transferred them across to what was back in the day, my estuary aquarium. Now it's a Saratoga tank. And they continued on for about another year. But eventually the group that was about 4 at that stage, let's face it, I'm not going to beat around, they died. So I think I had one lasting for much longer than the other, and that was the one that ate the pellets. So they're a difficult species in terms of their diet to have in an aquarium. Gary, let me just check out to see what happens with more questions here. Anything you want to say more about that tank? That's the tank, guys, that everybody that he had his Copperband Butterflyfish in. What's the plan with those butterflies, Gary?
Which ones? The ones in this tank?
Yep.
Well, the plan for these guys is for them to go into the Red Sea tank. That tank over there. At the moment, I put them in here as another quarantine measure. Not a disease measure, but more of a just making sure they're healthy and eating enough to hold their own, and that they're happy eating what I feed them. You know, they're not going to starve to death, because sometimes you will get one that is just skinny and he just similar to a copperband, just won't eat for whatever reason. So you know, you still got to be careful. Doesn't matter what type of butterfly it is. You can still get paper thin ones that don't take well to eating, and need a lot of care right from the outset. And then even then, you'll be lucky to keep them alive. But you might.
Yeah, but they're a funny fish, aren't they? They don't seem to hold body weight very well.
No, I don't know how long they would go. Without good feeding. You wouldn't know that because you're a very good feeder. So you wouldn't be able to answer that question, Adam.
Do you want to go back to your
fish will never starve.
No, they won't, mate. Go and show us that triggerfish that I caught for you. Stephen Buckland 492 says, any caulerpa species you know of that aren't going to melt on me? Stephen Buckland, my experience with caulerpa are 4 species. So I've kept caulerpa peltata, which is the Shrek's ears. I've kept what I call caulerpa racemosa, which is the great caulerpa, but it's not racemosa in Australia here. It's something different. It starts with an M and I can't remember. I've kept Caulerpa filiformis, which is the one that looks like eelgrass, that freshwater Vallisneria plant, and Caulerpa brachypus, which is that real little short kind of a blade.
Yeah.
Caulerpa brachypus.
My phone's about to drop out, so I may have, if you want me to continue on, I'll have to go upstairs and plug a charger in.
Gaz, how about what I do is I'll pause this question I'll hold the answer to this question, and what we'll do is just turn you around because I want to see your rugged face, and I want to ask you the question about personality, mate, because I feel like your personality is very different to my personality, and your personality certainly suits a certain type of reef keeping.
Yeah. So what if my phone runs out? You don't care?
No,
This is your personality. My personality is saying it's about to run out any second. So what was the question again?
When I first met you,
I'm just trying to put my thingamajig on here. I don't even know where the cameras are.
Jesus Christ, mate. What are you, an old fart? Come on, buddy.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I'm 60 this year. Adam's only turning 50 this year. Shock horror. Sorry, I hope you don't mind me telling everyone that, Adam.
No, not at all.
Bearded Reefer tries his best to keep up with Adam. Yeah, I've got no idea.
What exactly are you doing right now? You're waving the phone around like
so dark. Let's just get on with the question. What was the question? You got no. You don't like. You haven't got as much patience as me, perhaps.
Hold the bloody.
You must have patience.
Get your hand out of the way. Now, it takes you. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. It takes you about 3 days / 3 weeks to make a decision. Yeah.
Sometimes 3 months.
And what does that say about a reef keeper and success when it comes to coral?
I don't know. Maybe with Acropora it's a good thing because it takes so damn long for it to grow. But then all of a sudden, it just takes off like crazy, and then you end up with these coral warfare because you've been stupid. I'm talking about myself. And put all these different corals very, very close together, thinking, oh, you know, it's going to take 1 million years before these things take off. And then all of a sudden, one day, everything clicks together and they're crashing into each other like crazy. And of course, your favourite Acropora is the one that's going to suffer, and the other ones just ride straight over the top of it.
Yeah.
Back in the question. But anyway.
Well, it didn't really, mate. But back in the day, there was a video from, oh, God, what was that guy that did the tank personality? Oh, crap. He now works for one of the marine depot over in America or something. Anyway, know your tank person. Uh-oh, Gary's gone. No, he's not. He's still there. Are you dead or are you alive?
I'm here.
You're there. Know your tank.
Yeah.
Know your tank personality. And he was basically saying that your human personality will dictate the outcome of your aquarium. Now, when we first met, we're yin and yang. I'm a bit erratic. Some might say borderline adult onset ADHD / autism. And you have the decision-making powers that takes 3 weeks to make one.
Similar to my digestion.
But you have absolutely phenomenal incrustation with your Acropora frags to the point where you're having to reconsider what your tank is going to become upstairs. And I am going to have to settle for soft corals in my aquarium. Any thoughts on that, mate?
Well, I think your problem is nothing to do with your skill level. It's your bloody bore water that you keep pumping in there. You're behind the 8 ball. You know, you're not filtering. You can't filter your water properly. You know, and there's a problem in itself for Acropora, which is very difficult for you in such massive tanks that you've got too. It makes it even more difficult.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just something. I don't know how you're going to get around that. We can try. somehow you might just need to come up with a way of filtering that water.
Yeah. What about with you?
And
How
getting
I tease you? Now I tend to tease you in regards to your not wanting to move one thing from 1 inch or 1 centimeter to the right or the left and all the rest of it. But what does that do for the growth of coral, the stony coral in your tank?
Well, when I actually do move it, it doesn't seem to do anything. But it's the fear. It's the fear. It's the fear. It's like these guys saying, you know, they go on about lighting. Oh, you know, this par, that par. It's sort of, I don't know. The Acropora, everything's upside. Like I said before, my Acropora is growing really good on the ground, on the floor of the tank. So, yeah, it's a mystery. The main thing, the thing that got my Acropora growing was when I got the alkalinity dialed in and bought myself a doser. That's when things started happening.
Right. So
And that's what I've been telling you. So and you've got to be more precise with your dosing. You can't just throw a bucket of bloody baking soda or whatever in the tank every second day. You know, you've got to dose it, drip it in. Buy yourself a good dripper and just drip it in constantly, so it's constant all the time.
yeah. So I feel like I'm trying to poke you, but the answer is that stability and patience and time, which comes with that sort of personality, is ideal for that kind of tank, your tank, what you're growing upstairs. And we didn't honestly see the extent of the encrusting and the growth of the frags that you've got in there, because it is quite remarkable in the space. I think I've known you probably for about 18 months now, and I've seen at the first probably a couple of months it was fairly stable, and then after that pretty much just absolutely taken off. So I think that's just been an attribute to your patience and stable personality, we'll call it.
Yeah, imagine if I had money and I could buy some good equipment.
We had some comments back in the day about Polo Reef, mate. So,
But then, does that make any difference, you know?
well, I don't know. His tank, I believe, had a big water leak. How can a millionaire have a water leak? Gary, you're fish collecting says, Gary, you're using Trident. He's not using Trident, but he does use a Trident when he goes underwater. And I think Gary has now died. He absolutely has. All right, so I'll remove Gary from the stage. Hey guys, I hope we've got some questions to answer over here at the moment. So let me answer a couple of those questions about Copperband. That was pretty rough and tumble, but I hope that you enjoyed it. Gary's an absolutely fantastic guy. I really enjoy Gary's company, and he really honestly does have a knack, because of his absolute inability to act on anything for 3 weeks, but that leads to fantastic Acropora growth. Let me answer a few questions here. There was Copperband. Oh, Copperband. Any hints? The racemosa, which is not racemosa, will go sexual and dump out its spores very quickly. You can sometimes get it to hang in there, and then it will recover. The filiformis, which is that Vallisneria style Copperband, it's on the east coast of Australia, subtropical style. It was meant to potentially be a weed from South Africa or South America. I didn't have success with it. It was really hard to keep, but hence the reason why I don't have that tank anymore. My current Iwagumi tank is running at full speed ahead. I'm dealing with a little bit of just trying to fine tune the Copperband peltata growth. I think my phosphates are too high, and I've got a little bit of brown slime algae. Need to dose trace elements. I'm dosing iron, EDHA. I'm dosing a mixed trace element, and I'm also dosing iodine and nitrogen, but not phosphorus. So I think I'm going to pay a bit more attention in reducing the phosphorus level, and then I'm pruning with some scissors, good old freshwater style, the caulerpa about once a week. So that would be my suggestion when it comes to growing caulerpa. Let me just go back through the comments to make sure I haven't got any questions. There we go. That was Stephen Buckland's question there. I hope that answered, mate. Fertilizer, manage phosphate, and prune. And also know your species. I think some species are a lot more difficult than others. Caulerpa that we eat in sushi won't melt. Mate, those caulerpa, I don't know about in sushi, but there's different grape caulerpas that are cultured in kind of like mud saltwater ponds over in Asia, and they're bulletproof. That might even be race moisture, I'm not sure. Daniel's getting seasick on his recliner. Sorry about that, mate, but that's the way it goes. Feather caulerpa. I don't think the feather caulerpa is the one that's been cultured overseas. Oh, is that the one that's in nori? I don't know, or sushi. Any more questions, guys? I'm just going through the chat. Less hands in the tank, Gary. Man, sometimes it's painful. I can see you down there, Gary. Let's bring him back and see if he's there. What happened, buddy?
Well, I was told you my phone was going to run out.
What'd you do?
I came back upstairs and got my iPad and it seems to be working. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Why couldn't you do that at the start of the live stream?
Well, you said the sound was no good.
I got a comment here. Hang on, let me show it up on the screen. Ling Nguyen, if you decide to try Copperband again, please look at Paul B. Now, Paul B is an experienced reefer that's on Reef to Reef and also on Humble Fish. He's one that doesn't quarantine. He's very outspoken about not quarantining, but he's great friends with Humble Fish, who does quarantine. He keeps his Copperband for 10 years on white worm, earthworm, and clam. I personally would like to get my hands on some, like a grindle worm. There's a grindle worm that lives in salt water, and you can find it underneath the kelp that washes up on the beach. I'd love to be able to maybe culture that or collect that. So I think that would be fantastic, particularly in that style tank that someone, it might have been Mason, asked about all those times ago about being what was it called, Gary? Twin spot goby Copperband alternative tank. I'm just going through the chat, Gaz, to make sure we haven't missed anything.
Yeah, with those worms, I wonder how they'd go with, or did you talk about this before, like the worms that guys worm down the beach to catch whiting with? What are those worms called?
They're a polychaete worm.
Yeah, well, surely the Copperband would go crazy for them.
Probably, and that's the best bait for certain fish, such as moon wrasse. One thing I do can add to that is that you haven't met him, but Adam, who used to run the River to Reef Aquarium in Coffs Harbour.
I have met him because I used to buy things off him, but he doesn't know who I am. Yeah.
Well, he does now.
He actually saw this tank. When I first bought this tank, that was my first stop. And I asked him, did he know anybody that could help me lift it up into my house?
Ah.
And he quickly cowered over and said, yeah, not me. I've got a bad back. And I said, so have I. It looks like the tank's going to stay in my van for quite a while. I ended up having to get a removalist.
Well, that Adam that we're talking about was very successful in breeding mandarin fish at the back of his retail store. And it took a while to condition the Indonesian caught mandarin fish. And the way that he managed to condition them was by sifting beach sand with a very fine sift to get the tiny worms that I can only assume are the juvenile, the juvenile beach worms. So they were tiny, tiny little worms, and that was what he was feeding his mandarin fish to get them conditioned up to then breed. So that would be the kind of thing that would be gangbusters for copperband butterflyfish.
Yeah, and also other small butterflies if you've got any trouble with them eating.
Mate, you've been called Grandpa Smurf now.
Yeah, I like the blue look.
Just balances out the complexion. We got a question here or a comment from the Gold Coast fish keeper that asked, when are we going to go collecting with him? And I guess that's either going to be a trip up to the Gold Coast or for you to come a trip down the Nambucca, mate. We can talk. Can we talk, Gary?
Yes. I've heard of marine bloodworms, which are different from freshwater bloodworms. Never heard of them available as feeders.
I've never heard of marine bloodworms ever, because a bloodworm is not a worm; it's an insect larvae.
Oh, they used to call them marine bloodworms in the day. Down at
Really?
Nambucca at the boat shed. Yeah, come and get your bloodworms and catch your whiting.
What were they?
do a lot of
Were they beach worms? Just beach
worms. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. All right, mate. We might we're going up on an hour and 45, which I think is long enough now. Have you got any? Oh, one thing we didn't do, mate, because you were absolutely in a flap when it comes to your technology. We didn't do our shout out.
What's that got to do with technology?
Because you're in a flap and I couldn't have time to get a flat shout out.
Oh, right, with all my messes here. Yeah.
So Gary, King Neptune, the Great Bearded Reefer, do you have some sort of shout out to the addicted aquarists out there that that you'd like to give?
Yeah, I'm not sure I understand your shout out business. We went through this the other day. Thanks to somebody that helped me along the way. Correct.
Or something, or a book, or a source of information, anything, mate. It could even be a fish or a piece of technology, for that matter.
Can I do 2 shout outs?
Oh shit, we're going from none to 2.
I've got heaps of battery life now. I can just talk all night. You've still got squash. Well, the first one is like when we were first talking about going through the ugly stage with the tank, with this big tank upstairs here.
Yes.
That tank.
Yeah.
And, I was at the point of scrubbing these rocks every second day. They were just covered in brown stuff. I was at the point of not giving up, but if things didn't improve by the end of 12 months, I was going to say, this is there's something someone's not telling me about this hobby, And then I saw this YouTuber. I was telling you the other day, it was a young girl on there, and I've never seen the video again. And she said, just real basic, down to earth. She said, everyone's tank goes through this horrible, ugly stage. I think she was referring to, kind of. Oh, okay, bye, mate. You're going. Listen to my thing, quick. Anyway, she said, don't worry about all the brown algae, the dinoflagellates, all this stuff. Don't worry about buying, Mr. Fishy stuff and whatever.
it'll pass. It'll pass. It'll pass, and you'll end up with a beautiful reef tank. That's what she said. And I thought, oh, right. Okay, no worries. I'll keep going. And that was just enough to keep me going, you know?
Yeah.
Because no one had said that. It was all secret, hush, mirrors. And anyway, and then the other thing which got me, you were talking about the Acropora taking off, was just simply having a conversation with my old mate up there at Reef Secrets, talking to him about alkalinity one day, and I said, you know, what's an acceptable change in your alkalinity over the course of a few days? You know, is a change from one DKH or whatever? Is that too much? You know, over the course of a week? And he sort of spoke to me like I was an idiot, and he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I just, you know, if it changes, I just dose it by hand. He goes, you can't dose it by hand. He said, you've got to get yourself a doser and drip dose it so you're minimising any change. You know, if you're going to be keeping Acropora, it was like, you know, rule number one, basically. So I went and bought a doser, started dosing, and things went good from there.
Yeah.
So shout out to Darren from Reef Secrets as well.
And Samantha that told you to stick with it through the ugly stage.
Samantha.
We can't remember her name.
Are you just making that up?
Fuck you, I'm making that up. Yes.
And there's one other person who's on one of those American, you know, Denver reef shows or whatever. She came on. She was some coral expert, marine biologist or something, giving a talk. And I was just watching. And at the end of the talk, one of the audience said something about, oh, you know, I'm having trouble with my LPS. They keep dying. You know, what am I doing wrong? You know, is there something that I'm not doing? And you know what she said? Feed the shit out of them. And now I understand. And when I heard that, I thought, that's a strange thing for a scientist, you know, to say to her as an answer. She said, just feed the shit out of them. And but now I understand. That's exactly what you need to do. And if you don't do that, they will start to suffer.
Yeah.
Well, with my little experience with LPS.
Slightly on that topic, Praddy's asked, what are you dosing?
What is my dosing? Well, I'm dosing... I'm still dosing Kalkwasser. I originally started with Kalkwasser until it became not enough, which is once you start getting a handful of Acropora, you know, quite a few of them, you know, maybe a dozen or more, then the Kalkwasser can't keep up. And that took quite a while before that happened, probably 2 years. And then all of a sudden, yeah, the Kalkwasser just, your calcium starts to drop down. You can't get it back up to, you know, it's dropping down towards 400. Your alkalinity is starting to drop down around 7, occasionally under. So you think, okay, it's time to start dosing. So yeah, so I keep dosing Kalkwasser as strong as I can, and then I also dose alkalinity, calcium. I make it up myself off that Randy Holmes recipe.
Yeah,
he's got fantastic recipes that work perfectly.
The Kalkwasser you're using the Vectra pump for, or are you dripping it?
I drip it in with a Vectra, yeah.
Vectra. And you're using a Vectra for the alkalinity, the Randys, and a Vectra for the calcium.
Yep. And the magnesium, your magnesium doesn't seem to change that much. So at magnesium, I'm still just dosing that manually.
Yeah. And what about trace elements?
Oh, trace elements, I'm dosing a manganese, obviously, for if you're going to keep Goniopora,
you got to overdose them basically with manganese. Give them plenty of manganese. What else have I got down there? Strontium. I've always given strontium from very early on. I think that helps with your coralline algae as well.
That's a Reef Secrets job.
Strontium.
From Reef Secrets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the bottle that he makes up. Yeah, seems to work. Yeah, so that's a bit cheaper way to buy it. If you can buy it from a shop that actually makes it up in a big litre bottle rather than buy the little Coral Essentials. Coral Essentials I have to use for manganese because I haven't figured a way out to make my own manganese yet.
Mate, I found a source.
Smart.
Mate, I found a source on eBay for manganese. Is it manganese sulfate or manganese?
Sulfate?
Oh, no, it wasn't sulfate. It was something else. But I picked up manganese and a whole bunch of trace elements on eBay. It's 99.8% pure, and we can buy in a large volume, mix up with the RDI, and we're set.
Right. I was looking at it last night as well. Yeah.
Yep.
But how much do you dose? That's the question.
Mate, just super saturate and dump it in.
Yeah, anyway. And the other elements I dose is iron. Not much, a couple of drops of iron every day. Yes. And what else? Is that about it?
Well, I don't know. You tell me. It's your tank, mate.
Yeah, iron, manganese, strontium, iodine. Iodine. I think iodine's an important one as well.
I just picked up bought a bottle of Lugol's iodine from eBay, from an eBay store, and I bought 100 or 200 mils of it, which was so much cheaper than buying the Continuum. I think it's Continuum brand Lugol's iodine. So Lugol's is the one that you normally would do a coral dip in, but also dose if you want to have a really strong iodine in obviously a large volume. It's toxic if you overdose it, but it's got potassium iodide as well as iodine in it. And I think it was like $50 for a couple of 100 mils of it. So it'll last me probably the year, I think. And it's, what am I adding? 26 drops per week out of that. And one drop is 20 mils. So it's going to last me 100 weeks, 2 years. So, yeah, that's, and so there was a question down here, Gary, that was about polyp extension, Gold Coast fish keeper. What should I do to make my soft coral polyps extend as much as possible? Mate, I'm not an expert coral keeper whatsoever. And so I relay back to my memory from Anya from Galleria Aquatica, saying that what she was doing was 1 drop of iodine per day made her soft coral display tank bloom. So hopefully that'll help you out. Just going through the chat, Gary, to make sure we haven't missed anything. There's a comment which might interest you from Ling Nguyen, who says, would you believe me if I told you my Copperband was eating pellets? Took me 6 months to slowly transfer it to pellet from frozen bloodworms. Bloodworms are great for butterfly fish. But I can't keep other butterfly fishes alive. Such irony.
Yeah, I would believe you. I do believe you. Why wouldn't I? But
Well,
yeah, that is irony. That's
I haven't
crazy.
got.
Maybe you're giving the Copperband so much attention that you forgot to feed the other ones, like someone I know did. Whatever happened to that beautiful squirrel fish that I had? Not what was it? A possum? Raccoon. The raccoon butterfly. No one has asked what happened to the raccoon butterfly.
You mean the one that I caught you from mini water and took it home especially for you, thinking that this Gary will love this fish?
Yeah, and I put it in with the Copperband just before he came up to the display tank up here, just for another fish for him to get used to share his muscle with, which he did. Everything was working fine. The what is it? Possum?
Raccoon.
The raccoon was eating the mussel fine. I thought, oh, he's no problem. So I put him in the tank the Red Sea tank downstairs. No problem. It was a little bit skinny, and I think Adam, whenever he came around, said that raccoon is looking skinny. Feed him up, feed him up, feed him up. And I'm going, oh yeah, he's, I see him eating the mussels and whatever. And one day he just completely went off his food, wouldn't eat, and I took him out, tried to put him in a quarantine tank and bring him back, but he was just no turning back. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah, mate. If you think about it, butterfly fish don't really
beautiful fish.
Well, they are beautiful, but they don't really factor very high in the marine aquarium hobby, do they? When you think about the overall scope of the reef keeping hobby, butterflies aren't there, except for the Copperband, because we want them to do a job. And I wonder if it's because butterflies don't suit the modern marine reef keeping hobby. They need frequent feeding. They need benthic invertebrates. They need to pick all day. And it just doesn't suit the way the modern or the current
Exactly.
the current scene is.
Because by feeding them a lot, which they like, particularly mussels, etc. Okay, so number one, your modern reefer doesn't want high phosphates and nitrates, right, in his SPS tank. And number two, he's terrified that they're going to eat his prized corals.
Yeah.
So I think they're the two reasons. Yeah, like you said. Whereas you don't care about that because you're a fish man, so you don't mind if your phosphates go up, which they have to if you're going to keep these fish well fed. And that's what I have to worry about downstairs with those butterflies. As they get bigger, I'm going to have to, try and keep them fed, and at the same time try and keep my phosphates down.
Yeah.
So, and the only way you can do that these days is, I don't like doing it, but I call it cheating, is using GFO or whatever it is, phosphate, phosphate.
Yeah, for me these days it's not lanthanum chloride being dripped into the protein skimmer. As context, I did a test today on all my aquariums, and my Palau reef tank nitrate is sitting at 3.8 because of my sulfur reactor. My phosphate level is sitting at 0.2, I think it was 3 or something like that, which is a little bit above what I was trying to get, but that's due to lanthanum chloride. Now, on my Seaway tank, my nitrate was 5.3, which is great because of my sulfur reactor. But my phosphate on Hannah was 0.9. And Gary, as you'd know, a Hannah phosphate reactor maxes out at 0.9. So God knows what it was, because I don't employ any phosphate control on that aquarium. So it's kind of a yin and yang. The butterfly fish have been ignored by the reef keeping hobby because they waste away. They need frequent feeding. They don't hold body weight. They might chew coral. They will bring your phosphates up because of what you need to give them. But honestly, which I'm hoping that maybe between you and me, if we up our filtration game, and I think we have some fun, but I've got a feeling that maybe in the future, when you start to add those butterflies to that Red Sea reefer and you bring Acropora down, you're going to experience the challenges that I might experience now. And so the filtration game starts to play a lot harder than what you expected.
Yeah, well, that's right. So you want a really well working refugium. Surprisingly, my refugium down there, well, we didn't have a look at that. Works really well. That Chato ball is big now. It's almost like a soccer ball size, with just a light bulb on it from Woolies. So there's another thing from you see on these, go and buy yourself a refugium light, $300, special refugium light, stick it in a nice refugium, I've got a light bulb and it seems to be working great. But anyway, so yeah, get as much stuff happening in our refugiums, I guess, try and bring the phosphates down. And who knows, sometimes, like when I first introduced the Copperband up here and I was still feeding him mussels quite a lot, my phosphate went up. And also when Adam gave me all those acans and gonies that I was feeding heavily early last year, my phosphates went up. I think at one stage they were like 0.27. And the funny thing was, the corals loved it. The corals didn't suffer at all. Even the Acropora didn't suffer. Nothing suffered. So it was really another weird thing. So who knows? So I'm expecting when I put my Acropora down there, if I can keep the phosphates around 0.2, they might still be okay. Even 0.25. Who knows?
I guess the trouble is, it's so long term when it comes to coral, though, isn't it? It's what we do now in terms of filtration really isn't seen until weeks or a month later.
See you, Daniel. Daniel Witcher. What are you laughing at?
It's like I've got to play two minds. I'm like walking in front at the same time having to go back to just about done. All right, Gary, shall we address any last questions before we call it a night?
Yeah, are there any?
Because Fiend is saying enough's enough. So we know that Daniel's gone good night.
What did Pratty say? He lives near a hotspot.
Oh, they were talking about weedy sea dragons, mate.
Oh, right.
Which neither of us have got experience with. Guys, it's now on 2 hours. Is there anyone out there who has any questions for King Neptune, the Great Bearded Reefer, with his Red Sea Reefer, his display tank upstairs, and his stable of butterfly fish? Any questions, and then we can call it a night. Well, this question is not exactly on topic. I'm waiting for Gary to catch up. Come on, dude. He's asleep behind me.
Right, there he is. He just stuck his head up.
Oh, look at this one, mate. We've got a bit of cheek. A bit of cheek.
That's not a question. What sort of question is that?
I know. And funnily enough, GC Fishkeeper is the one that wanted to have a shout out from you earlier on. So that's a bit rude, isn't it? Now, David 0218 hasn't got any questions, but he enjoyed the chat. So what I should say now, Gary, are we done? Are we done? Thank you very much for showing us inside your home, your 1, 2, 3 aquariums. And I appreciate that very much. And I'm sure everybody out there appreciates it very much. GC Fishkeeper was just having a joke about the mop on his face. He's probably jealous because he can't grow a beard himself.
As a famous person once said, there's only 2 people that shouldn't have beards: women and children.
For fuck's sake! I was watching a. I don't know if you're this kind of person, but it's The Hobbit. Have you seen the Hobbit videos, movies?
Yeah, I'm not really a Hobbit person, but I know who the Hobbit is.
Yeah, but you haven't seen them. But in The Hobbit, Lord
What's
of
that?
Rings,
Lord of the Rings and all that sort of stuff.
yeah, all that sort of stuff. I love those videos, those movies. But in those movies, there's a dwarf that's telling his wife, telling someone, what was he telling? A man, showing a photo of his wife, and his wife had a beard.
Right.
Yes. So there you go. Wives can have beards too. Ross Dingle says, thanks, Gary. Not sure what that means. Thank you very much for watching tonight, guys. We've had 2 hours with Gary, King Neptune, the Great Bearded Reefer, although he calls himself the Bearded Reefer. I think he's pretty great when it comes to things such as the Acropora and the butterfly fish. We shall see you next week. Now, next week on Aquariums Anonymous, I've got a very special member who you will have seen in the chat. He hasn't been so active tonight because he's a freshwater guy. He's a true blue Aussie. He hails from the west, south. Fuck, I don't even know where it comes from. It's somewhere down near Mildura. He has a YouTube channel all of his own. And that will be Gil's Fish Room. That's right. Gil from Gil's Fish Room will be visiting us next Sunday night, 7 p.m. Australian Daylight Savings Time. Is it Daylight Savings next week, Gary?
Finishes next Sunday. So it'll be, back to normal time Sunday night.
Oh, man, that's going to ruin us. Is it Sunday morning or Sunday night it finishes?
Sunday morning, 2 o'clock.
Right, okay. So next Sunday, 7 o'clock Australian Eastern Standard Time, not Daylight Savings Time, will be Gil's Fish Room. Gil Vidler, he's building a brand new fish room in his farm shed. It's absolutely decked out. It's painted all black. He's building a 12-foot by 4-foot plywood aquarium, and he's all about his Central and South American displays. So I'll see you then. Gary, over and out, buddy.
Okay, thanks a lot.
And I'll see you some afternoon this week.
Yes, we'll go and get those Anthias.
Yes.
Or I'll go and get them, if I haven't already got them.
Mine.
Yeah. I'll give you one. We'll have one each.